Philip Drachman was born in Piotrków, Poland, a small village approximately 75 miles southwest of Warsaw on July 4, 1833. My great-granddad in a memoir wrote, "All Poles were born in a little village near Warsaw." Sam, his brother, was born in 1835. Poland at that time was ruled by Russia. The Drachman family, like most Polish families, was poor. Their country had been a battleground of the adjoining nations for many generations. What one army failed to take, the other had. Poland was a third-rate nation without its own armed forces. When these two boys were growing up, they were destined, as all Polish boys were, to be Russian soldiers when they reached the age of 13. Conscription by the Russian army was a foregone conclusion. But Harris and Rebecca Drachman were determined that their two sons would somehow avoid service in the army. For 2 or 3 years, before Philip reached the age when he would be picked up by the Russians, they planned his escape. Families in the area often spirited their male offspring out of the country to avoid service. On August 26, 1827, Nicholas I issued his statute on conscription duty, making Jews in Russia liable to personal army service and canceling their prior privilege of providing money ransom instead of conscripts. He followed a policy consistent with European enlightened monarchies, which sought to transform their Jews from a medieval corporate entity into useful subjects integrated into the society, with which Jews shared rights and obligations. Such was the pattern found in Austria under the reign of Joseph II, who subjected Jews to the state bureaucracy, imposed upon them an obligatory German-based education, significantly expanded their residential trade and economic rights, and drafted them into the army. Yet some differences between Jews and non-Jews applied. Most significantly, Jews are required to provide conscripts between the ages of 12 and 25, whereas for others the conscripts were between 18 and 35. This system betrayed the utilitarian agenda of the law to make Jews productive. The military had to draft those still susceptible to external influence. In addition to enduring legal complexities, Jews encountered a significant and ubiquitous discrepancy between the letter of the law and its implementation, characteristic of the Russian state administration. By the late 1840s and the early 1850s, when Philip and Sam were coming of age, the quota doubled for Russians and quadrupled for Jews. And especially during the Crimean War, which lasted between 1854 and 1855, Jewish communal leaders had long exhausted their pool of non-useful subjects. In order to fill the ever-growing quota, Kahal elders resorted to the help of capers, catchers, Jews who caught their brethren of any age and of any status and handed them to conscription centers. In Jewish memory, the 3-year period of capers, 1852 to 1855, came to be conterminous with the entire conscription system of Nicholas I. Now back to Philip and Sam. They had to find a way to escape, and the Drachman parents knew the perfect thing to do. They removed some floorboards from one of the rooms in their small home and began to dig by hand a cellar into which Philip could hide. At night, they would carry the soil out of the house and spread it over the ground so it would not be noticed. This went on for months and months until they had a place to hide their oldest son, who was soon approaching the age of conscription. When the Russians came looking for Philip, they were told by the parents that he had run away. Imagine the fear his parents must have felt knowing their reparations for such deception. In fact, Philip was actually hiding in his cellar room where he lived, beneath the floor of his home, for many months while arrangements were made to send both Philip and Sam to England, and eventually on to the United States. But unfortunately, by the time that Philip was taken away, it was before his bar mitzvah, leaving us Drachmans in the U.S. without that Jewish identity that had been passed down for generations. Philip had health problems most of his adult life, and he felt that they stemmed from the months he spent in the damp hole underneath his home. So now, how does this affect me in 2016 in Denver, Colorado, in Boston, Massachusetts? How does it affect me? My whole life, I was raised as a Christian. On my dad's side's Christian back 3 or 4 generations. But for some reason, my strong and proud Jewish roots were lost in translation. Where does this leave me? Although I don't think I'd still be practicing Judaism today if I were Jewish, due to the fact that I gave up on my Christian roots at a fairly young age, I wish I had the opportunity to experience that culture and that side of me that I never got to explore. The results are as I'm left without a religious identity. I'm neither Christian nor Jewish. I'm just existing. Who knows, maybe things would be different if I were Jewish. Maybe things would be the same. I personally have to thank Philip Drachman. Although he is dead, if he had not run away from the Russians, there would be probably no existing Drachmans left. So thank you, Philip Drachman, for sacrificing everything for your family, so I can exist today. Thank you.